Konya, 1244. A man walks into the city like a wound that hasn't healed yet. No horse, no attendants, no name anyone recognizes. His robe is the color of dried earth. His eyes, those who remember them later will struggle to describe them. Not warm, not cold, something older than both. His name is Shams of Tabriz. And somewhere in this city, the most celebrated scholar of the age is sitting in his library. Surrounded by 40,000 books, he has memorized every word, and a silence he cannot explain. Rumi doesn't know it yet, but in a few hours, a stranger will ask him a question, and nothing, not his books, not his students, not his carefully constructed understanding of God, will survive the answer. Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi was 37 years old. He had been educated since he could speak. His father, a theologian of such reputation that the Sultan of Samarkand once rose from his throne in his honor, had taken the family westward when Rumi was a child, fleeing the Mongol advance. Years of wandering, Damascus, Mecca, Baghdad, and finally Konya, where they settled and where Rumi inherited his father's position and his father's gravity. By 1244, Rumi had thousands of students. Sultans sought his counsel. When he spoke in the mosque, men wept without knowing why. He was, by every measure, complete. He had read everything. He had answered everything. He had a wife, children, a place in the world so secure it felt almost eternal. And yet, at night, after the students had gone and the lamps burned low, there was a question underneath the quiet. Not a theological question, not one he could find in his books. Something formless, a hunger with no name. He had mistaken mastery for understanding. He would not make that mistake again. The exact circumstances of their first meeting have been told in 100 different ways. Some say it happened at the market, some say at the door of a caravanserai, some say it was dusk and the light was the color of embers. What is agreed upon is this: Shams stopped Rumi in the street, looked at him the way you look at something you have been searching for a very long time, and asked him a question. Not a polite question, not a scholar's question, a question that lands in the body before reaches the mind. The exact words have been lost to time, but those who recorded Rumi's own account suggest it was something like this: which is greater, wisdom or the one who loves wisdom? There was a pause, and then Rumi, the man with 40,000 books, the man sultans consulted, the man who had an answer for everything, felt the ground beneath every answer he had ever given begin to dissolve. He fell. Some accounts say literally, his knees gave away. Others say it was something more interior, a collapse that had no visible surface, a man crumbling behind his own eyes. When he rose, he was different. Not wiser, not calmer. Different the way a bone is different after it breaks and heals. Different same, but reorganized along new lines. He took Shams by the hand, and for the next year and a half, they did not leave each other's side. What happened between them is difficult to describe in ordinary language. They talked for hours, then days. They locked themselves in rooms and emerged looking as though they had survived something. Rumi's students grew uneasy. His family grew worried. The people of Konya, watching their beloved scholar disappear into this strange wanderer's orbit, grew hostile. Who was this man, this Shams of Tabriz, with no credentials, no lineage, no fixed address? What could he possibly give their teacher that 40,000 books had not? The answer Rumi would spend the rest of his life trying to articulate. Shams did not teach him theology. He did not teach him poetry. He did not teach him anything in the conventional sense. He burned away the scaffolding. Everything Rumi knew, he still knew it, but now he knew it differently. The way you know the difference between reading about fire and having been burned. The knowledge was the same, the man holding it was not. Rumi stopped lecturing. He started listening. He stopped performing certainty. He started sitting with uncertainty the way you sit with an old grief, not trying to fix it, just letting it be present. The students could not understand it. Shams had not given Rumi answers. He had taken his questions and made them larger. Then Shams was gone. The first disappearance came suddenly. Shams left Konya without warning, without explanation. Rumi was devastated in a way that alarmed those around him. Not grief, exactly, something more fundamental, as though a part of his own architecture had been removed, and he was learning, in real time, what held up what. He sent his son to find Shams. Shams returned. They continued. But the hostility in Konya had not softened. Rumi's students resented Shams. His family feared what this friendship had cost their patriarch. And one day in December of 1248, Shams was called to the back door of the house and was never seen again. He was likely murdered. By whom and on whose orders has never been proven. Rumi searched. He traveled to Damascus. He asked strangers. He stood in the streets of cities he had never visited and called out a name. He did not find them. What he found instead, what he came home to, alone, in the winter of his loss, was a silence that was not empty. He sat down and he began to write. The Divan-i-Kabir, the great collection, contains over 40,000 verses. Rumi did not compose them as a scholar composes a treatise. He composed them the way a wound produces a scar, involuntarily, over time, the body doing what the body knows how to do. He named the collection after Shams. Every poem, in some sense, is addressed to him, or is trying to reach him, or has stopped trying and is simply describing the distance. The poems are not consolation, they are not closure, they are something rarer. The honest record of a man who was broken open and did not pretend it felt like anything other than what it was. I have lived on the lip of insanity, he wrote, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door, it opens. I have been knocking from the inside. He was 66 years old when he died, still writing, still in some poems, still searching. The books that had once surrounded him were still there, but he no longer needed them the way a crutch is needed. He had become, at last, what he had been pointing at all along. There's a kind of knowledge that can be accumulated. You read, you study, you listen. Over years, the architecture of your understanding becomes impressive, tall and intricate, visible from distance. You become someone people come to for answers. And then something arrives, a question, a loss, a person who refuses to be answered. And the architecture, which you have confused for yourself, begins to move. This is not failure. This is the thing Rumi spent 40,000 verses trying to say. Shams did not destroy Rumi, he revealed him. The man underneath the scholar had always been there, waiting not for more knowledge, but for the courage to stop using knowledge as a wall. What Shams asked in that street in Konya, in whatever words it was spoken, was something every life eventually asks in its own way. Are you going to keep knowing things, or are you finally going to feel them? Most of us, when the question comes, walk the other way. Rumi fell to his knees. Somewhere in your life, there's a Shams, not a person, necessarily. A question you have been avoiding, a grief you have been organizing instead of feeling, a door you keep walking past because you're not sure what's on the other side, and you have too much to lose to find out. Rumi was 37, surrounded by everything he had built. Then he arrived. He lost his certainty. He lost his teacher. He lost, for a time, himself. What he gained cannot be named as simply as what he lost. That is precisely the point. The reed, he wrote, cries because it has been cut from the reed bed. But it is only because it was cut, only because it was hollowed out, that it can make music at all.